Hey everybody, this is Freddie with LeviathanScuba.com. You know, there's a lot of videos out there that will teach you how to use less air and give you the strategy. This one has some information they didn't cover. We'll get to that in just a minute. You know, this video is a real short one, and the reason we made it really was to kind of talk about some of the parts and pieces that we go into great detail in our 4-part series on how to stretch a tank longer, right? So we wanted to kind of tease you with a little bit of the information to show you it's not just the same information that everybody talks about. We're going to start with the strategy on how to use less air. You know, it actually starts before your dive day. Right? There's a lot of things you can do that will make a difference on the actual dive day that will determine how much air you're going to use out of that tank on that dive. Starting with servicing your gear, right? It is a huge stress when you jump in the water and you notice, whoa, my battery on my dive computer's dead. My BC is inflating all by itself. My regulator's leaking. I'm using up air. That stress causes your heart rate to go up and you're going to use more air. So have your gear serviced before you go. Check your batteries, things like that. Just a little bit of that time is going to lower the stress of the actual dive day. Okay? Another part of chilling out and relaxing is taking a few minutes to yourself after the hustle and the bustle of travel, the airplane, the rush, the getting to the right gate, showing up, getting the taxi cab, however you get to the resort, go in, put your underwear away, right? After that, relax, whatever that means for you. But really slow down. Just relax, chill out a little bit, maybe take a nap, sit by the pool, start your book for the weekend, make sure your stuff is kind of unpacked, ready to go for tomorrow with plenty of time. And basically the idea is really just to kind of de-stress. I know this sounds very obvious, but these are just some of the basic things in the very beginning. We get into much more detail on our 4-part series. Okay, now this next one you're not going to like as much. You're on vacation, you're trying to leave work behind. So, leave work behind, right? Don't jump on the phone, I made it, I'm here. If you need me, call me, blah, blah. You're on vacation. They're not paying you right now. You need to be quiet and get away from work. You know how it takes a few days sometimes to wind down, where your body just lets you relax. You can start enjoying your vacation a couple of days. I'm trying to help you learn how to do it just a little bit faster. One of those things is don't be checking into work. Don't be doing any work from now today. Do it later in the week after you've had a chance to have some fun and relax, but not today, okay? The other thing is maybe not drink as much, especially on the very first day. Okay? It'll interrupt your sleep patterns a little bit tonight. It'll dehydrate you a little bit tomorrow, and it's just not going to help you stretch your tank any longer. So relax, maybe have a cocktail, but just don't go in excess tonight, okay? And again, make sure your dive gear is ready to go for tomorrow, dive day, all right? So next, on the actual day of diving, the very first day, you want to go really slow in the beginning. At the risk of sounding obvious, I'm going to talk a little bit about a routine. It's silly, but even in my mask box, I have certain things in my mask box besides a mask. And it's part of my routine. They're always there. I check them before the trip to make sure my defog has defog in the bottle and all those kind of things. But I have this routine. I get on the boat, I start to set up my gear, right away. I don't wait until we're 5 minutes away from the dive. I do it right away. I get the stuff out, put my sunglasses in, get my dive computer, get everything ready. That's my routine. That routine helps me not have to think as much because I do it the same way every single time, right? So don't wait till the last minute. Have a routine of yourself. Help somebody else maybe because it helps you remember as well. Okay? And then it helps you avoid that hustle and bustle. You know what I'm talking about. Right at the last minute, all right, everybody, we're going to have a dive briefing. We're getting ready to go. Well, now you have to pay attention. You can't be setting up gear and all that kind of thing because the dive briefing. And then who goes first? Am I going first? Are the group number 1, group number 2? Oh, the people that can stretch their tank a long time, they're going first. And then there's this hassle. Get your mask defog, get your gear. Oh, is my tank on? All that kind of stuff, right? And it just tends to speed up your heart. It tends to increase your stress level. Whereas if everything's ready, done, you've done it a million times, you can make your way to the water, you can jump in, you can relax. Okay? Which brings me to the first 3 to 5 minutes of the dive. We can't help it sometimes. The scenario on the boat, maybe it's a storm, maybe it's choppy water, maybe people need to get in quick because it's a drift dive so we can stick together, things like that. Sometimes it's just a little bit more hectic before you get in the water. But once you do get in the water, you're under control. And this is one of my favorite parts of the dive, actually, is the first 3 to 5 minutes. It will determine your relaxation and or stress level, your breathing for the rest of the dive, that particular dive. So if you're in shallow enough water for this dive, descend to the bottom, kneel down, be quiet. Don't do anything. Just sit there for a second. Look around. Watch for some fish, look at the other divers jumping in, whatever, just sit there, do nothing if you can help it, okay? Relax, listen to yourself breathe. The whole point is to just relax. And if it's a dive where you can't go to the bottom and kneel down, then just practice your buoyancy, just kind of hover, waiting for everybody else. But the idea at this point is you're not checking this and that, you're not looking for this, you're not trying to find that guy, this guy, you're just relaxing for a little bit. Get your buddy together, you're together. Try to just relax and do nothing. Be very, very quiet for 3 to 5 minutes, at least 3 minutes. You'll find that you're going to save more than 3 minutes worth of air on the rest of your trip because your heart rate's lower, you're a little bit more relaxed, you've got your thoughts about you and your wits about you, and you can enjoy the dive a little bit more, right? I love to focus on my breathing, maybe find some of those fish. Okay? The next thing, and we go into great detail again on this 4-part series on how to stretch a tank longer, but buoyancy control. I can't stress this enough. This is one of the most important skills in scuba diving. Buoyancy control means you're not sinking and you're not floating. You're trying to maintain neutral buoyancy. Yes, I can talk about it. It sounds really cliche. It's not the easiest thing to do in the world, especially if you're a newer diver, right? So you need to get your weights proper. I have mentioned to people that you never put any air in your BC, and they look at me like I have a third eye. What do you mean no air in my BC? That's how you have to make yourself neutral. I say, no, it's not. I shot a video where I don't even have a bladder on the BC. None, zero. No air, no bladder. When I first started diving, there wasn't anything, they had never invented the BC yet, so how's that possible? So I'm telling you, proper weights, no air in your BC at all. When I teach people how to do buoyancy, I disconnect their BC so they're not even allowed to put any air in it. We're doing it in a swimming pool, but I teach them the skill. You can maintain proper buoyancy. Now, when I look at somebody diving in the water and they're swimming like this, they're overweighted. We call that seahorsing. They're swimming up and forward at the same time. They're not streamlined, which would be hydrodynamic. Can you imagine how much less air you use swimming like this with the water that can go over your body rather than you having to scoop it diving like this? Or the worse, the opposite is, you're trying to swim down and forward at the same time because you're too light or you have air in your BC and you're swimming like this. So try to get yourself really streamlined. Again, we go over the skills and the equipment issues in our 4-part series on how to stretch a tank longer. So dive horizontal trim. Streamline that profile with all the gauges and the hoses and the junk. Oh my. Oh. Hoses and gauges and junk. Oh my. Hoses and gauges and junk. Oh my. Right? Stuff slows you down. More stuff slows you more. Okay? Next, a little bit about the BCD. And again, we get into that more detail. But when you have a BC, if it doesn't fit you properly, or perhaps some of the styles of BCs, like jacket styles BCs, if you look at them and you think about hydrodynamic, your fluidity in the water, your streamline ability, you'll notice that they have the shoulder part and it goes down and it comes out to the jacket style. Well, this part here works like a big scoop on each side. You're swimming, you're pushing, you've got a scoop over here and it's grabbing water. That slows you down. How about proper fins? You can snorkel with scuba fins, but you really can't scuba dive with snorkeling fins. And what's the difference? Check out our 4-part series. We go into it. How about kick cycles, or the ability, the efficiency of the technique that you use to kick? You can imagine that a fin going through the water like this is much more efficient than you bicycling. Bicycling is one of the worst strokes there is. And you use so much air bicycling and so much energy that you're exhausted at the end of the day and you went through your tank. That's one of the best techniques, is to learn the proper fin to use, the most efficient type of fin, and the technique on how to use those fins. And if you have the wrong fin, there's half your air right there. Okay? How about your hands? Streamlining. Oftentimes you watch video of brand new divers out there. What are they doing? They're doing this with their hands, trying to stabilize themselves and all that. Then you see a diver that maybe has a little more experience, and their kind of arms are crossed. Now that's good. That's much better. But they're still not a very good profile. They're not very streamlined. One of the things that I explain to people when I dive, I reach and I grab the bladder of my BC. My shoulders are down. They're streamlined. The water goes right across them. A lot better than this, right? And so that's one of the techniques of streamlining your body. Next is a breathing technique. Breathing is one of the most important skills, and you have people that try to skip breathe, and we have a whole video just on skip breathing, but we also talk about it in the 4-part series. And you don't want to do that. That's a pause at the end of each cycle. You inhale, you pause, you exhale, you pause. You think you're using less air, but it actually makes it worse. But a slow count in, 4 to 5 seconds in, no pause, 4 to 5 seconds out, making sure you exhaust all the CO2 or as much of the CO2 in your lungs as you can. And that is absolutely the best way to breathe possible. So these techniques are contained in our 4-part series on how to stretch a tank. We're going to put a link down below towards that so you can go check it out. Spend some time, grab a cup of coffee, relax, and take some notes. And I promise you, the skills and the equipment techniques are going to make you a better diver, and they're going to make you stretch a tank a little longer, increase your dive time, which is what you're spending your hard-earned money on to go diving. You want to make sure you can stay under as long as you possibly can. It will make a big difference. All righty? Take care. Have a great day. You know, the difference between a new diver and an experienced diver is quite often the tips and the tricks they learn along the way. That's why we share these things with you. We hope that it helped you in some way. And you know, you can help us if you'll just hit that like button down below. And if you can think of anybody else that might benefit from these, why don't you try sharing it? That'll help get the word out. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, and we'll let you know when the next one comes out. Have an awesome day.